So we're coming up at the top of the second hour, and we have another amazing guest with us tonight. But what I need to do is I need to do a little housekeeping, and I want to let our listeners know that they're listening to the new WCEG network on WCEGtalkradio.com, or they can watch us live on their smart TV, YouTube at WCEG Network. I'm Celeste Giordano, the host, along with Sarah Poe, my co-host of Global Legacy and Wealth Building for the next hour. We are the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group, where we speak life into the community. And thank you, Penny Rogers and WCEG Network, for the opportunity to serve our listeners and community. Next up, Sarah, we have another amazing guest with us, and I want to make sure Thel's unmuted herself. So our next guest is Thele Moore with American Family Insurance, and we are glad to have you here today, Thele. It's been a while. You're looking fabulous as always.
Thank you, ladies. It's amazing to see you as well.
Absolutely. It has been. And we are so excited for this second Power Hour. And Sarah, I would just love for you to introduce Thele for us, if you would, please.
Okay, I will. Well, we have Thele Moore here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She's a servant leader and an agent owner of the Thele Moore Agency, American Family Insurance, located at 1835 East Park Place Boulevard in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Her agency offers auto, home, life, umbrella, and business insurance products. As your American Family Insurance agent, Thele believes there's more to insurance than the policy itself. It's about providing dependable protection and service. That's why earning your trust is in her policy. Thele Moore is originally from St. Louis, Missouri, and has a health management Bachelor of Science and Master degree in Business Administration. Thele moved to Atlanta in August of 1999 to work as a project manager handling claims in a class action case. She also had an associate's degree in claims and risk management. Thele started her American Family Agency in 2013 after managing insurance claims for more than 15 years. She has seen firsthand the devastating realization when you do not have the proper insurance protection. American Family offered her an amazing opportunity to educate and to service members of her community with the right insurance protection. Thele has been recognized as an All-American qualifier for the last 5 years, an AFLAC qualifier 5 of the last 6 years, and 2017 New Life Quality Business awardee. You've been busy.
Busy, guys.
Wow. Oh, we got more. This is the part I like. She's a competitive tennis player. I like watching her on Facebook and all the things she does. She's a tennis enthusiast and has traveled the metropolitan Atlanta area extensively, competing in ALTA and USTA tennis matches. She believes in service first. She has a servant's heart and is excited about the opportunity to live, work, and play in her community. Thele is investor at Stone Pizza Kitchen in historical downtown Stone Mountain. She's currently a Greater Lithonia Chamber of Commerce member, a charter member of Kiwanis Central DeKalb, Leadership DeKalb Class of 18 alum, Waters Age Health and Fitness Committee co-chair, volunteer tennis coach, 2018 Cohen Tennis Association Community Service awardee, and 2019 DeKalb County Work-Based Learning Employee and 3DES School Business Coach. Thele believes that service is usually meets opposition. Therefore, you must keep in mind that the acronym FALL means first attempt in learning, and N represents effort never dies. When you're faced with obstacles, keep it moving.
Keep it moving.
Yeah. Girl, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I have been busy. Wow.
Yeah, sometimes you need to see it in paper.
You're right. You're right.
Absolutely. Well, Thel, we are so glad to have you on the show here today. I think our relationship goes back to 2013 or 14 as well. And
Yes.
I think I met you in some networking groups along with Sarah. And it's
Yes.
just been a privilege and honor to be associated with you as a friend and a business colleague. So welcome to the WCEG Talk Radio Show. We're glad to have you today.
Thank you. And thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. And so I know that Sarah just read your bio, which was phenomenal, but would you do the honors of just quickly telling us the name of your company and how they can get a hold of you?
Okay. The name of my company is the Thele Moore American Family Insurance Agency. And you can get a hold of me at 678-537-8430. That is my office phone number. And my email address is more2@amfam.com. So I can be reached at that number and that email address. Oh,
right.
I should also say my website is is TheleMooreInsurance.com. So it's my first and last name, insurance.com.
Very good.
CGLE Moore, MOORE.com. Thele Moore Insurance.
Very good. Thank you so much, Thel. Well, I am so excited that we have you here today because one of the biggest things that I have always talked about, whether it be when I was in direct sales or as a business consultant, is the importance of insurance. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't know this, but I sold insurance back in 1978 myself.
Wow.
and so I am a firm believer in good insurance, personally, professionally, and having yourself covered. So my first question for you is, why should I have insurance for my business?
Okay. I get a number of business owners who come to my office looking for insurance because they need to, because someone is requiring it for, in order for them to get a contract. But they should think about insurance way before that. Actually, when you're putting your business plan together, you want to make sure that you're adding that cost into your overall business plan because you want to make sure that you're protected. And some of the reasons that you need to have credibility. When somebody is looking you up or if they're going to hire you, if you got insurance, you appear to be a credible business. What if you need a loan? Often you may need to get insurance in order for that. And you guys, in this society that we have today, where you always want to sue, you want to make sure that you got liability coverages to make sure if anything happens, that you have somebody, that insurance company that's going to go to court for you and try to defend you in the event that you need that. And overall, just keeping your business running are some of the reasons. I have an example of a lady who had a restaurant in New York in 2013. That restaurant burned down. She's moved since then, and because she has insurance, she was able to recover from that very quickly. She's now here in Atlanta and is killing it. Her business is phenomenal. So that's a good example of why you want to put something in place and make sure it's there on a regular basis so that you're prepared.
Absolutely. And like Sarah being a CPA, and, this is one of my biggest things as a business entrepreneur is making sure you have the right entity and then making sure you have the right insurance to cover that entity.
Right.
So, I can't imagine somebody thinking of doing business without having business insurance because you are going to need business insurance and it's going to come get you, and you can sit there and try to skirt around it or be 3 steps ahead of it, but sooner or later it's going to catch up with you. And I was just amazed, whether it be in the for-profit or the nonprofit world, mm-hmm. of how many people didn't have the proper insurance.
Correct. And usually, like I said, they'll come to the office, I need it tomorrow. I'm trying to get a contract. And usually that's too late. Often they miss those opportunities because they don't have the proper protection in place, especially during this time of uncertainty. uncertainty for all of us across the board. You want to make sure that you put measures in place so that you're prepared for whatever might happen, when and where you can, or for whatever it is that, in terms of you being able to control your destiny.
So Thel, what is a business owner's policy? What is it?
Okay. Business owner's policy is usually going to include your general liability coverage. It's also going to include business interruption coverage. That is in the event something happens where your business needs to close for a while, you have a fire or you have a flood there, and your business has to close for a while. It's actually going to pay you income while you're out. It also includes your personal property. If you're in, well, we had the big storm yesterday in North Carolina. Well, I'm sure the restaurants on the coast here, if they lose all of their business personal property during that storm, you want to make sure you have coverage for that. So the 3 basic coverages that are going to be grouped and packaged together for you under, it would be packaged in what we call a BOP, a business owner's policy. Now you can buy those a la carte, but it's going to probably usually be more expensive. So it's usually much more cost effective to buy a package that is going to offer you coverage for all of those items.
So why do I need general liability insurance? What exactly is that?
Okay. And I'm glad you're asking about that, because people get that confused often with professional liability. But general liability, if you or one of your employees do something to injure someone, it may be a slip and fall at your location. It could be just anything that you might be liable for. Your general liability is going to cover you for that, and it's going to defend you if they think it's a fraudulent against you as well. So if you're generally responsible for someone's injury, then your general liability is going to kick in.
So let me ask you something, Thel. If, let's say, a general liability insurance policy, what if it's a business entrepreneur working out of their home? Would they need a general liability policy?
Okay. Well, if you are working from your home, it depends how big your business is and how much of your home is being used for that. Now, they actually have riders that you can put on your home on some personal home policies if you have a really small business. So, for example, if you have a daycare at your home and you have 3 or less kids there, you can add a rider onto your policy. Along with that, you would put in there what the business liability is. So it depends on what that business is. If you have a case where something happens, and let's say you've got $50,000 worth of business equipment in your home, then you're going to have some challenges having that stuff paid for if something happens to it. So if you're an electrician and you got $50,000 worth of business equipment, then you definitely want to make sure that you have a business, a BOP, a business owner's policy. It's actually going to help you for all of those personal items. It just depends on how much equipment you have, how big your business is.
So what are the various types of insurance that should be considered as a business owner?
Okay.
So whether they be brick and mortar or they be operating out of their home, because some people, when I first got into private consulting, I realized that a lot of the business owners that were just starting up, maybe they weren't a brick and mortar business, they didn't have insurance.
Right. So some of the business, professional liability. If you're someone like Sarah or myself, we have professional liability. That is, if we cause an error during the time that we are actually administering our business, if I do something incorrectly in terms of giving someone insurance, or Sarah does something incorrectly in terms of their accounting needs, and from a medical standpoint, it's called malpractice insurance. So you want to make sure that if you're one of those professions where professional liability is required, that you get that, put that in place.
Well,
you were saying different types of insurance. Business auto insurance. Depends on what business you have. I had a gentleman that called yesterday that he signed a contract where he's going to be delivering scooters. And when he's contracting, he's got scooters that he's going to bring them home every night, charge them up, and then take them back on the street. I said, well, do you have insurance in the event something happens to those scooters while they're in your possession? You know, he's got a big truck where he goes out and picks them up. So in that particular case, he's definitely going to want to have a business owner's policy and make sure he has enough insurance to cover that merchandise he might be carrying around and while it's in his possession.
You know, absolutely. Since you brought up business auto policy, you know, a lot of people don't understand as a business entrepreneur or an LLC or a corporation, you know, depending on your car that you're using, that you have commercial insurance on that car or you have your personal insurance. A lot of people think, well, my personal insurance covers me. Well, if you're using that car for a business and you're carrying somebody with you on business, and God forbid something happens to you, your insurance may not cover you if it was business related and all you had is personal insurance.
Exactly. And I'll tell you a good example. A lot of people are doing Uber right now. And there is a coverage gap, and they use their personal insurance to do that. So if you are one of those people and you have this side business with Uber, you want to make sure that if you talk to your personalized carrier and make sure that you have an endorsement so that you're covered while you're actually the coverage gap is once you turn on your app that you're open and ready to go, now you are a business owner. So if something happens with your car, even though you haven't started driving anywhere yet, because Uber picks you up once you start driving, but that time that you're waiting, you're a business owner. So if something happens to the car, then there's a coverage issue right there. So that's an example of making sure you as a business owner have coverage. And let's say you're a realtor, but you do very few miles with your car. You just want to make sure that a lot of companies have a business use category on your personal policy. You want to make sure that you tell your insurance agent that you actually are a realtor and that you do use your car sometimes for business, so that if something happens, you're carrying around a prospective client and something happens that you don't have any issues in terms of coverage. And speaking of auto insurance, there is another coverage called hired and non-owned coverage. And I have that on, I don't have a business auto policy, but I have that on my business, my BOP, my business owner's policy. It's a rider that you put on there in the event your employee is out doing business for you.
Yes.
And there is an incident and you're covered, then you have coverage for that. It's usually not that expensive. I know Althea runs to the bank for me all the time. She works in my office, or she just run errands, pick up supplies. So that person could come back and sue you. And that hired and non-owned coverage is a great extra to have on your policy. In that case.
And that's so important. And I think a lot of people, whether it be our listeners, our community, I just know in the last 7 years being in the public sector outside of my franchise, that people just were, I guess the best way I can say it, were just really naive about business insurance, business auto policy. They didn't think past just something personable because they've maybe never been a business owner before, and they didn't understand that was even made available to them. And this is why, even Sarah and I, we do workshops together. One of our things that we constantly talk about is making sure you have a relationship with an insurance agent, and that you should have a review with that insurance at least once a year, if not twice a year, because things change. And you just don't wait until a year or 2 years later, like, well, let me go compare prices. No, I encourage my clients to do that every year and to have a review twice a year with an insurance agent, because things change in your business and you need to have that conversation and you need to have that relationship with that insurance person, that they know what's going on in your personal life and your business life, so you are protected. And I want to go right back to when we talked about the various types of insurance. Even though this is a for-profit show today, Sarah and I do a nonprofit show. Another thing that I realized in the last 7 years working with nonprofits is that they don't understand the importance of insurance for nonprofits. What kind of insurance do nonprofits need?
Well, they need exactly the same insurance that a regular business owners need. It's just under a nonprofit category, and so it's priced and it's differently. But they need all the same general liability coverage. They need coverage if they have equipment or if they have an office space, and they want to make sure those things are taken care of. So I really don't see a nonprofit being different from a regular business. They need to make sure that they have all those lines of coverage as well. And a couple other coverages were the workman's compensation. You know, that's a key piece. When I talk about people coming into the office, the contractors, they are looking for workman's comp. And you're not required by law to have, I think, until 2 or more employees, but then you can be liable if something happens to the employee. So it's in your best interest to just go on and put something in place so that if there is an injury, then there is coverage.
Well, and I think what a lot of people don't understand in the nonprofit segment, Thel, and Sarah and I have had numerous conversations about this, is usually in the nonprofit area, you're doing service projects, you're using volunteers, you are maybe going together in groups, or you're meeting at a location to do some service work. You may be refurbishing some buildings or painting or whatever. Well, those volunteers are coming under your nonprofit. And like you say, if they were to get hurt, well, you know, you already had to sign that release form for the place that you're doing the work. Right. And that nonprofit needs to have insurance in case that happens. The other thing, as a volunteer, you know, there's so many different types of nonprofit organizations out there that maybe they deal with sex trafficking, or they deal with homeless, or they're dealing with
mental health.
Mental health, and you're having volunteers go in person to deliver things to these people, and you don't know if they could, you know, something could happen to them, or they could get, you know, I hate to say this, but they could be attacked or raped or something.
Right.
Where's your insurance?
Right. And even churches as nonprofits. That's usually, there's usually an item on the policy that says if somebody's assaulted, then there is coverage for that sort of thing as well. So that's another example of a nonprofit that would want to make sure they have the proper protection in place.
Absolutely. Sarah, go ahead.
I got a question. So you've got all these people working from home, and they're logging into your server at the office, and now we've got an issue of cyber crimes, right? Of getting into your system accidentally, not on purpose. And then let's just use me for an example. They get into my server. Think of what they could steal from my server. Social security numbers, names, addresses. What type of insurance should somebody have for that?
Cybersecurity coverage is actually a new product. I sat in on a session about it a week or so ago, where there is a coverage that is an add-on or separate that will help you through the process in the event that you have an incident. They'll make contact with everybody that needs to be contacted. They'll do all those things that are involved in terms of making sure that you're protected in the event that there is cyber. And you know, it's right now, you're right, with the pandemic and a number of people actually working from home. Yeah, there is a coverage called cyber protection. It's usually not that expensive. A product we have, the add-on is $250 a year for a small business. So
that's well worth that.
Yes, that you can add on to your policy. And you know, these folks, that's their specialty, is just handling that. And it's such a huge need for it at this point in time, which happened all of a sudden, right?
Absolutely. Now, we have a listener that wanted to know what insurance company did you underwrite with? And so I guess the name of the insurance company that you work with. Could you tell us that again, Thel, please?
American Family Insurance.
And go ahead and give us your website and
Okay.
information again, please.
Okay. So my website is thelmooreinsurance.com. My phone number is 678-537-8430. And it's American Family Thele Moore Agency.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I worry about the cyber thing. And last week at my training, you know, my 40 hours of CPE, we spent 4 hours just talking about that.
Yes.
And the process you have to go through if it happens to you, and who you
Yes.
notify and all that. And I walked away from that going, oh my goodness, I can't even begin to think about all this.
Right.
You know, so it was just so overwhelming.
Right.
To think about it.
Right. Right. It's a huge issue. And even with even before the pandemic, but what happened with Targets and some of the other the big companies that
Right.
have had issues with that. So cybersecurity is it's a big challenge for all of us today.
You know, Phil, we had a listener ask, does cybersecurity insurance cover ransom for hijacking, or is that covered under or is it covered under regular business insurance or covered under cybersecurity?
Cyber. The cyber. And actually, guys, the product we have is actually underwritten by, we sell it through our brokerage department, and is underwritten by Hiscox, which is a Lloyd's of London subsidiary. Yeah. So,
you know, and we see more and more of that all the time. I mean, I was a victim of like my website being, you know, hacked first time in 7 years this year.
Wow.
And, you know, what a nightmare. You know, it really is a nightmare, and you should have some, you know, it's such an inexpensive policy to add on.
Right. And, you know, as business owners, we are all so very busy. Just like Sarah just said, she left the room going, oh my God, all the things I have to do. And I need to think about that as well. So having something like that is worth the $250 a year.
Well, I'm sorry, and I guess what you said earlier under the BOP, is that some of the stuff that can come underneath that, or you can add a la carte to it, or?
Well, cybersecurity is actually a new coverage that, you know, most of the regular carriers are going to be a little nervous about getting into a market like that, especially at a time like this. So usually, companies like Lloyd's of London are going to come up with specialty coverage. So that is considered a specialty coverage at this time. You know, eventually they'll probably be part of the main coverage that is offered. But right now it is a specialty coverage. So there's not a lot of companies actually offering that. So it's usually going to be brokered out. So no, it is not part of your regular business owner's policy.
Is there, so you have a partnership, okay? And as much as I love my partner, something could possibly go wrong, and it usually does. What is the best way to protect yourself in that event that your partner dies, or you have an argument and you can't solve it, you can't come to the negotiating table and fix it? What do you do in that case?
Well, where insurance comes into play with partners is usually going to be buy-sell agreements. In the event something happens to one of the partners earlier than what they had planned, then it's good to have a buy-sell agreement in place. And that agreement is usually put together by an attorney.
Okay.
But then it needs to be funded, right? So, you know, some of the things that it can take care of, if something happens prematurely to one of the partners, it can take care of orderly transfer of the business. A mutually agreed amount to sell the business for would probably already be identified and written up. Stability of the customers, staff, creditors, investors. So you and your partner prematurely passes, then maybe you don't want to be in business with her husband. Maybe that's not something he wants to do. you and your partner will sit down and put together an agreement of what would happen. What would be your continuation plan for the business? And then you would fund that with life insurance. Or, I mean, and there are a couple of different ways that you can fund that. You can fund it with cash, if you got the cash on hand to the side. You can save the money to do it. The problem with saving the money, if something happens very quickly, then it's not available to you. You can borrow the money, but usually when you need to borrow it, it's not available to you after it happens. So life insurance is usually a good option for funding those things. And usually what happens is you buy a policy on each partner that is available, and the other partner is the owner. I mean, is the beneficiary.
Beneficiary.
Yeah, the beneficiary of the policy. So it's a great opportunity to make sure that, I don't know if you guys have heard of the arguments and the problems people have, and not being able to decide, even if this is just, if you're sole owner of an organization or business and you pass away, maybe your kids can't agree. Maybe you have one kid that wants to keep the business going and continue it on, and the other one's like, let's just sell. So that I actually have a insured right now that I'm working with, that he just got this great buy of a property down in South Georgia because the family couldn't agree. I mean, there was a tractor on it. They thought it didn't work. He cranked it up. It worked. He got, I mean, it was like a fire sale. So, and that was because it was a farm, and the kids just didn't agree on what was going to happen. So putting something in place like a life insurance policy, so that if in the event something happened, you have it all documented out. You know, maybe your son's going to get paid out a certain amount of money, and the other son's going to take over the business and run that. So whatever it is that you think you want to set up or do in order to have continuity. And, you know, we do so much. I know all of us put so much into our businesses. You don't want to see it just go to the fire sale, you know?
No, you don't want your baby to die like that.
No, it's my baby. I spent a lot of time with it. So.
But you know, there are a lot of people that just do not understand the importance of proper planning while they're alive and thinking long term. Like you just said, Thel, whether it be a business and somebody wants to continue the legacy of a, you know, of a family, you know, business, or, you know, then like you say, you have siblings, and, you know, whether it be my family, Sarah's family, yours, or others, we all have those individuals that aren't going to agree at some point.
Right.
What type of it? All right. So this goes along with that. Let's just say I get sick, whatever it may be, and I have to be out of the office for 3 to 6 months. What type of insurance do I get for that?
You want to make sure that you have a disability insurance policy in place. That disability insurance policy is going to kick in and pay expenses while you're away, to include even your income. So you would sit down with your insurance agency and you would talk about how much is needed in the event that you are no longer able to run your business, or you're going to be out for a while. So a disability policy is something that you would want to put in place as a business owner. And I know, guys, it's a lot of different things, a lot of different pieces here. But a disability policy is a great option in the event that you're not there, and you're going to need to maybe put somebody else in your place to run a business. If you're a dentist and you can't be there, well, you want your staff to keep working. So maybe you may have to hire somebody in for a while to run the business while you're away. So a disability policy will help you fund through an incident like that.
Well, and I think a lot of people don't look at that perspective, Thel, early in life when they start their business, or maybe they're in the second half of their life where they've retired from a current position and now they've started a business. They've never had to worry about this, so they don't know what they don't know. And disability is so important, because as we get older, I mean, we could drop dead of a heart attack just like that. You know, and so, and again, if there's no disability, or, you know, we could have a serious injury or an illness that we're going to have major surgery and be out of work for 2-3 months. And like you say, you're an entrepreneur, and, you know, are your doors going to close? Are you going to keep your doors open, keep your employees going? a question from one of our listeners is, does business insurance cover salaries for like pandemics such as the COVID-19?
They do not. They do not. And because it is a virus, there is and it's something that insurance companies never collect the premium for. It has been a big point of contingency in the business community most recently. So, and I know there are some lawsuits out there. Usually there has to be physical damage to your property in order for your insurance policy to kick in. So in the case of the pandemic, there wasn't any physical damage to the individual properties. I remember thinking about the looting and some of the things happening downtown. So they were closed, but once they had physical damage, then there may be coverage, right? Because now somebody's damaged the building and it's going to be closed as a result. Because it seems like that looting happened right about the time that everybody was going to open back up again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and some of those cases, but your normal business policy covers when there's actual physical damage to your property. And that could be a fire, that could be flooding, that could be any, and what I usually tell people is when something sudden and accidental happens. That's
So,
when,
like, what about rioting?
rioting is not a coverage that is covered. Actually, there is a new crime insurance that Lloyd's of London has come up
Wow.
very recently. Yes, a crime insurance that has some parts of that may be covered as a result, but in the COVID-19, that was a big point of contingency with a lot of business owners who had to shut down their restaurants, for example, and they were saying, well, the virus is on my counters. It's in my place. So
So is that more of a disaster? Is that under insurance or no?
it is not a covered event under insurance at this time. Right.
So let's talk about this for a minute, because this is a good topic. So with everything with the COVID-19 and everything that we've seen take place, Thele, in the last 6 or so months, are there some new insurance policies that are being made available that people should get? Like if they live in a big town like Atlanta or Detroit, like let's just say for the rioting and things that went on like that, are there some, would you recommend that people look at some different insurance?
Yes, I would definitely recommend looking into that. Now, what the availability is, believe me, insurance companies, especially Lloyd's, they are out there looking at what's happening and coming up with a premium based on, actuarial reports and what they think it might cost to cover those kind of losses. But I would think that's where the cybersecurity came into play for us, because we had so many people. So we went out searching who has a product that we can sell to our insurance, because this is a big deal now. It's happening to so many people. So yes, there is, as incidents happening, then they're looking for opportunity to fill those gaps in coverage out there.
All right. So let's take the COVID-19 pandemic. What insurance would you recommend, or have they come up with since the COVID-19 that you would recommend for a business owner?
Or at this time, there is not a insurance coverage that I am aware of.
Okay.
That would cover for the pandemic at this time, especially now that's going on. Now, the next pandemic, okay.
Well, I figured they're going to come up with something that you guys can sell. I mean, Lords of London comes up with everything. Yes.
But usually, once the house is on fire, you can't buy coverage.
So let me ask you something. Why would I want a business continuity plan for my business?
We spoke a little earlier about buy-sell agreements. we understand what might happen if you die prematurely and your family is not agreeing. You want to make sure that you have a continuity program in place so that it can move along smoothly. And we have that's just in personal lives. When someone is deceased, that families are arguing, they're bickering. So can you imagine if there's a business there? And especially if you have family members that aren't even involved with the business, but that's my dad's business and I should get a part of it. So it's so important to outline, have a business continuity plan in terms of this is what you want to happen with your business. And you documented that out for everybody to have. And you funded it. You funded it so that you can make sure that everything's in place and you have continuity, that business moving on, or maybe you're okay with the business being sold and you have something written up for that. So.
Well, and I think today, and Phil, you probably see this on a day-to-day basis, the importance of having a life insurance policy and how many people don't even have a life insurance policy. They believe, well, I work for XYZ Corporation, so I have insurance through the corporation. And then they've been there 10, 15 years, and then something like a pandemic hits, and a lot of people get laid off. And they've never taken out a personal insurance policy for themselves. And now they're 15, 20, 25 years older, and it's more expensive.
Well, and Celeste, it breaks my heart, the number of people that call my office. I'll have somebody call. We had somebody call the office yesterday. They're 65, and I want a $150,000 policy, and I want to pay $50. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It is so key to put something in place as early as possible so that you make sure that, and I also call it protecting your insurability, because COVID-19 is happening now. And people are having illnesses that they may have lung problems for the rest of their life. Now your health is in a different status. You're going to pay more based on that. And when you think in terms of these buy-sell agreements, you're going to pay more insurance for the older people than you pay for the younger people. So you got to put that in perspective as you look for ways of funding those things. You're right. There are so many people, I have it through my insurance. You lose your job. I lost my job a few years ago. And for the first time in my life, like, you know what? I don't have insurance. So, I personally learned from that, how important it is to put something in place. And again, it breaks my heart every time I have someone 60 call me and say, I really want to leave something for my kids. I really want to leave that legacy. And it's just cost prohibitive at that point in time in terms of what their budget is. And, they're usually in retirement or moving toward retirement. So.
Well, and that's the one thing that I didn't understand is that a lot of people felt very secure in their corporate job, and that's the only insurance they had. And it wasn't a priority. And I don't know if they don't know what they don't know, Phil. They haven't been educated and the knowledge, and especially women. You think about, if the man goes before the woman, that she doesn't really understand why they didn't have this, or they didn't have burial insurance. But again, for our listeners, whether it's a woman, it's a man, it's a husband and wife, whatever it is, the importance of insurance is you just can't put a price tag on that insurance. You need it.
Right.
You need it. I remember grandparents when, many years ago when you were born, they took out this little policy on the grandchildren. And then they paid on it. And when they turned 18, they turned it over. It could be of cash value, or you could convert it to something else. You don't see that today. The younger generation doesn't understand, I don't think, the importance of taking out an insurance policy early. Yes. And one that has cash value, they just don't understand that. So I just hope our listeners today, will reach out to their insurance agent, have a conversation, reach out to Thele Moore with American Family Insurance, and have a conversation about, your insurance. You know, if you have it with a business, if you have it with a company, or if you have a corporation or an entrepreneurship and you don't have insurance, you know, why you need to get that. Or if you're a partner in with a business, that you need to have a continuity plan and you need to have insurance. You just can't put a price tag. One of the other things that I want to mention is the $1 million umbrella. That's another thing a lot of people don't understand. I mean, I have a couple of $1 million umbrella policies. We're insurance poor. We have so much insurance. You know, the thing of it is that it costs very little to add, you know, $1 million umbrella policy or whatever. I mean,
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the umbrella policy and
Yes.
why you would want to do that.
So from a personal line standpoint, you know that we live in a society right now that everybody wants to sue. Well, I have these people that come in with these big Range Rovers, these really nice cars, and they want to carry minimum levels of coverage.
Yes.
And when you hit someone, they look at you and go, "Oh, money." And you guys, you hear all the attorneys, right? One call, that's all. We all know the tunes. You know, I got 165,000 twice. People are looking to sue. You want to have $1 million liability because if it's $25,000 in coverage that is at stake, the insurance company may just go on and pay it and be done with it. But if somebody's trying to sue you for $1 million and it's fraudulent, they really don't need it, then that insurance company is going to come to bat, is going to defend you. Okay, so you want to be trying to defend yourself? If you have assets, if you have a beautiful home, do you want to be trying to defend yourself, or do you want to have this $1 million liability coverage that the insurance company is defending you for?
Well, absolutely, Thel. I mean, you know, on our house, we have, you know, the multi-million dollar policy added onto it. On our car policy, we have the maximum amount plus the $1 million umbrella policy. And the reason for it is we live in metropolitan Atlanta, and, you know, I'm worried about that driver down the road that's in front of me that's driving crazy and reckless and looking at their phone, that they don't have insurance, that they are covered carrying the minimum, and that they're going to cause me an accident and it's going to cost me $1 million with health or whatever it is. I want to make sure I'm protected. I don't want to rely on that person that caused that friggin' accident.
Right, right. And that's where you have the uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage that would kick in to cover you in the event that they didn't have coverage or they didn't have enough coverage.
Well, I absolutely. I'll give you an example. Mike and I were in a car accident. We were T-boned several years ago, and this person had a minimal amount of insurance on their car. Well, we were out of work for several months. You know, we had physical therapy, we had doctor's appointments, and had we not had our $1 million policy, we wouldn't have been covered and reimbursed, you know, what we deserve to be reimbursed for what we lost.
Right, right. In terms of if you're not able to work, you're losing your income. So all of that would be a part of what would be covered in the event that something happened to you and for your uninsured motorist coverage. So yes.
And it's not a lot of money to add that $1 million policy or to up that whatever, you know, what did you call it, the minimum, where, you know, what is the minimum now that they have to have?
Okay. So the minimum is $25,000 in the state of Georgia for a single incident. I mean, for an individual person, and $50,000 for an incident. So.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about it today, that's nothing.
25,000 goes nowhere. I mean,
nowhere. It goes nowhere.
25,000 now, right?
Exactly. And so, but it doesn't cost a lot to protect yourself like that, does it, Phil?
No, it doesn't.
I mean, I'm not going to hold you to a quote, but you know, it's less than a few $100s, right?
You know, if you add the piece where you're protecting someone else, it's usually about $100.
Yeah.
And then if you add it where you're protecting yourself as well, it may be $250 total.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's a good average range of what it might cost. So it's so minimal that it doesn't make sense not to have it.
Well, and the other thing, same thing with your house, you know, with your homeowner's policy. what is the basic minimum homeowner policy, Thel, for it covers for medical? Say I have a dog and my dog bit you.
Okay. So your homeowner's policy, if you're liable, it's usually going to be $300,000 is the minimum amount. But if you have that liability coverage on top of it, then it will cover up to that as well.
Up to $1 million.
Right.
And you know what? And I'm 64, and in my 64 years of life, I have been attacked 2 separate incidents by dogs.
Ouch, really?
Exactly. And not that it's 300,000, but my point being is, you think of an individual, somebody, if you have dogs in your house, you better have that $1 million umbrella policy. And I think, and God forbid, we lift our prayers for that beautiful young girl in Barrow County that was just out running in her neighborhood, was attacked by 2 or 3 pit bulls, and she's in Grady Memorial Hospital right now. And we need to be praying for her, because I promise you, she's, you think about that family.
Right.
Insurance, you can get me on a roll here, man. I can really sing it long and hard.
Yes.
So well, and wrapping up here, we still have about 7 minutes. Any key things that you would like to bring to our listeners' attention about what we covered today, the importance, anything that just dwells on your heart that you would like to get out to our listeners and our communities, because you've given us a wealth of information today.
Okay. I wanted to add that often if you're a business and you need to get a loan for something, you may need to get a loan for a building, and you may need to get a loan. Often a life insurance policy can be used as collateral. The bank may ask for that. So I wanted to mention that as well. So, and you can do that, 2 different ways. You can fund it with a term policy, which is going to be usually less expensive, or you can fund it with a whole life policy, which has cash value in it. Now, and of course, it's going to be more costly. But the key part that I tell people is how and Sarah, you can relate to how do you want that to look on your balance sheet? If it's term, then it's going to be a liability. Whereas if it's a cash value policy, then it's going to be an asset eventually to your business, and it grows as that. So that's another coverage that I thought about when you might need a life insurance policy, because often people are going into business and they may need to take a loan out to help, and a bank may want some collateral, because if something happens to you, we want to make sure that loan is paid back. We don't want to count on your family or what you should have made at that point in time. So I just think it's so key for business owners to make sure that they put something in place, that when they do their business plan for their business, and when they look at light bill and the cost to buy equipment, that they make sure that getting that insurance in place is going to be another key piece of coverage that have it across the board is going to be key for them. And don't wait until you needed it yesterday because you got a contract. Be ready when that opportunity comes up and you're filling out all the paperwork for that opportunity. Be able to put your deck page out there and say, hey, and here's my coverage. It's in place, it's ready to go. So be prepared. It's just another sign of you having credibility. I also say, even our underwriters, when they're looking at new risk, they go out and look at your website, they look at who you are and how credible you look, and being able to put down that you're insured and bonded and that sort of thing, it is another opportunity to show that your business is legit, is credible, and that you're a good person to try to do business with.
And everything we could just talk on and on about that, and credibility and paying your bills on time and everything else about, how insurance people look at a person today, personally and professionally. Sarah, coming from a CPA standpoint, what are some of the things that you see with your clients or people that want to be clients with you about insurance? What are the key things?
The key one, the one that I see the most that needs to be done that most people don't do is what you call the buy-sell agreements.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a client going through that now. The partner died.
Oh no.
And there was nothing in place. And now the daughter wants his half of the money. And now they're arguing over everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's if you'd have that buy-sell agreement, that could have already been done.
Right.
It wouldn't be month-long process.
Right.
So Sarah, as a CPA, and I'm going to put you on the spot here. You know, I'm very good at that. Okay. You know, as a CPA, I feel that a CPA or a bookkeeper has a moral obligation to have these conversations now, even more so with their clients about insurance and making sure that, you know, they are having those conversations and they have those things in place. You know, we have to at least say that we talked about it, or we sent an email about it, or something, you know, for our clients today, because our clients don't know what they don't know, and they hire the professionals to help them. So, you know, has that changed about the way you do business, or maybe you already did all that, or, you know?
We went round and round with them on all this. And I just kept saying, one day you're going to come back and said, I know, I should have done it.
Right.
And what was the 2 days after all that happened? The phone call was, I wish I'd listened.
That procrastination.
I'm constantly harping on all the different types of insurance, depending on what the business does. You know, it depends. Like me, cyber insurance is number one on my list because I just I can't afford for that to happen.
Right.
Well, you know, as we're all three professionals in different areas of our life, you know, as leaders in the community, we do have a moral obligation when we're working with people that we make recommendations, whether it be in writing, it be verbally, in person, in our expert field, that we let people know that they need to do this and they need to do that. You know, just like as a business strategist and a master sales, you know, when I do my workshops or when I do my monthly calls with my clients, you always, Sarah, you know, and Thele, you've known this too. How many times do you hear me say, you need to have that relationship with that CPA, that insurance, that financial advisor, that banker, and you need to also have a review with them on a yearly basis, really, and twice a year is what I recommend. Right. And then I always want to make sure, because I do blogs, that I write an article about those things out there, because again, somebody say, well, you didn't tell me this. Oh, yes, I did. I told it to you constantly. You just didn't listen. And this is why I say, like, as a CPA, if you're writing blogs or you're having things that, you know, it's in writing somewhere that you did a paper trail. You did this with them. As insurance, you did a review with these people, and you have I'm sure you have a follow-up that you send out to them, that you say, here's the follow-up. So, you know, as a leader in the community, you did your moral obligation. You inspected what you expected, and you did those things with your clients or potential clients.
Right. It's really important to keep reminding them of it, you know, even if you're uncomfortable doing that, because you want to know that you did as much as you could to try to have them put everything in place that they should. And, you know, documenting it as well. You know, we spoke about this, and you don't want that family member calling you, and I don't want that family member calling me and say, did he have life insurance? Or we have this insurance.
Absolutely. Well, we're coming at the top of the hour, Thele, and I mean, we could just talk forever. Sarah and I, this is a conversation that we love. But tell our listeners again, your name, your website, your phone number, how they can get a hold of you, because I know that we had a lot of people asking questions, and we want to make sure they know how to reach out to you and have a conversation with you. And even if you have insurance with another company, I encourage you to have a review with somebody different, because you'd be surprised that rates are very competitive out there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, guys. Well, my name is Thele Moore, and that's Thele Moore, Moore. And my website is thelemoreinsurance.com. My phone number is 678-537-8430. And I am available as a resource to any and everybody in terms of educating you, giving you opportunity to have a quote as a comparison, or just if you just need some general information. Again, Thele Moore, American Family Insurance.
Absolutely, Thel. And if you could go into the chat and put all that information for Penny Rogers, our producer and show host, so she can put that out there. We greatly appreciate that. And it's just been a blessing to have you on our show tonight. You look fabulous. You're doing
Thank
amazing things in
you.
your community. You're a leader. You lead by example. You're a servant heart. And our heart just loves your heart, Thel, and your passion to help serve the people in your community as well as outside of your community. So thank you.
And thank you, ladies, for this opportunity. And thank you for what you have poured into me over the years. Sarah, in terms of counting, Celeste, in terms of coaching. You guys have been definitely a great resource to me. And you met me when I first started my business. So thank you very much for what you poured into me over the years.
Thank you so much. Sarah, any closing comments for our listeners?
No, I just hope they listened, and there was a lot of great information there, and they take Thel up on that.
Absolutely. And, you know, at the top of the hour at 5 o'clock, we had Marcy Reiner. So definitely come back. You can go to YouTube, WCEG Network. It's this live stream on Facebook, and just a wealth of knowledge. Go back to it. You guys have a wonderful and blessed day and week. Let's have an awesome August, and stay healthy and safe. We love you.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night.